Today the focus shall be upon the highly interesting, very entertaining album Fun Crusher Plus from Company Flow released in 1997. We're going to start here by reading out in context the history of Company Flow. Company Flow was an American hip-hop trio from Brooklyn, New York City consisting of Big Jus, ELP, and Mr. Len. ELP, just to be clear to the prog rock fans, that's not Emerson, Lake and Palmer, it's EL-P. The group was at one time associated with the independent record label Rawkus Records. Rapper-producer ELP and DJ-producer Mr. Len founded the group in 1992 in Queens, New York, where rapper-producer Big Jus later joined. Founding members ELP and Mr. Len met when the latter was hired to perform as a DJ at the former's 18th birthday party. The two quickly became friends and formed Company Flow in 1993. They released their first single, Juvenile Techniques, later the same year. After ELP was introduced to Big Jus by underground rapper and indie label owner Antex, the trio then released their debut EP Fun Crusher on their own label Official Recordings in 1995. A follow-up single, 8 Steps to Perfection, was put out in 1996. Subject to a major label bidding war on Libra Records, Company Flow waited until they could get a contract on their own terms. They eventually signed to Rawkus and helped revitalize underground rap with label mates like Mos Def. Their full-length debut album Fun Crusher Plus was released in 1997 on Rawkus. After 2 years of pushing the album and touring, group member Big Jus decided to strike out on his own, and the group amicably dissolved. ELP and Mr. Len followed up their debut with the instrumental album Little Johnny from the Hospital, Breaks and Instrumentals Volume 1, Rawkus. By 2000, the relationship with Rawkus had disintegrated. The label was accused of neglecting the group's talent and being financially dishonest. The staff was fired shortly before Christmas, and Company Flow announced their departure from Rawkus shortly thereafter. Separately, ELP and Mr. Len entered their own deals with Rawkus, effectively severing the relationship between the three and Rawkus. ELP started his own record label, Definitive Jux, and pursued a solo career before eventually forming Run the Jewels with Killer Mike. Mr. Len has done the same thing with his Dummy Smacks records. Big Jus has released work on Big Dada and Mush Records. Big Jus stated in 2006 that he was working on material for a new Company Flow album, suggesting the possibility of the group reforming. Company Flow reunited for a show on October 19, 2007 in Brooklyn, New York City, as well as a show on July 16, 2011, and supported Portishead at the inaugural British Albi or Mirror Festival on July 23, 2011. Company Flow performed their final show as a group at Coachella in 2012. I'd like to share aloud now some earlier reviews of this particular album from the Rate Your Music. When this LP was first released, this is from Brakalava from March 29, 2005. When this LP was first released, it was seen as a savior for underground independently released hip-hop and led to a huge surge of interest in the underground. It is easy to see why, as it is a powerful, no-nonsense offering consisting of razor-sharp lyrics and stuttering beats provided by the mastermind ELP. It's easy to see why no major wanted to touch this, as it sounded like hip-hop from outer space at the time. I limit my review to 4 rather than 5 stars, though it is simply too hard to listen to in places and become a bit draining and depressing from cover to cover. The production of ELP, even at this early stage, was certainly a big discovery for hip-hop. The band never really went on to do anything major and split after an instrumental LP. However, ELP is still going strong, pushing the envelope as ever, and this LP will forever stand as a testament as to what can be achieved with a never-say-die attitude and a singular vision. William Herbert refers to it as, on the September 6, 2009, the Sgt. Pepper of hip-hop. There were clear forks in the road in 97 between those who were following the faux, grimy path of DMX and Ja Rule, the flashy path of Puffy and Jay-Z, the pen and pixel stylings of Master P and the Hot Boys, and this. For me, Fun Crusher Plus was the lantern that led the independents down the path closest to the spirit of true hip-hop. It paved the way for true hip-hop artists like Aesop Rock, Blueprint, Sage Francis, MF Doom in his new incarnation, and the independent b-boy aesthetic. What's more, although the lyrics are abstract and hard to penetrate, if you see the transcript of the lyrics, they actually make a hell of a lot of sense. This was the monolith that saved hip-hop music in the mid to late 1990s, though beware the misprinted track listing on the original album. It gets easier after the first few times, I promise you. And I think also worth sharing is Nodima's review on October 25th, 2009. This album is so fucking sick. Hasn't lost any of its appeal over the years, and actually just gets easier and easier to appreciate. Normally, I'm not such a huge fan of rapidy rap, but these guys do it with such verve, Kool Keith style that I can't really front on it. It's pretty accessible considering its reputation. The rapping is on point for all 80 minutes, and ELP makes the album Wu Tang Forever. What makes the album Wu Tang Forever should have been. Not that there's anything terribly wrong with Forever. Fun Crusher Plus is absolutely pure hip hop. Some of the greatest disses on record here, some of the dopest distorted boom bap. Trim the chaff, and it's incredibly hard to argue this album isn't perfect. Ultimately, like all ELP projects, that chaff exists, and Fun Crusher Plus is ultimately resigned to really, really dope status. Damn that copyright Lil Wayne. It's nearly perfect, though I can see why people would turn their backs on it, and this is one of the few albums that I not only really like, but wish I had the know-how to make myself. It's not even a favourite or anything, I'm just so blown away by this whenever I listen to it. I remember nearly overdosing on Bad Touch Example, Help Wanted, Population Control, and Loon TNS last semester on the iPod. Feel free to be indifferent to Fun Crusher Plus, but please don't shrug it off and call it abstract trash. It's too good for that. One review I'd like to refer back to, though, is GeoZ's claim that rappers trying to be different comes off contrived. GeoZ gave this a 3 stars out of 5. I don't try to be different, I am, so inevitably my style will survive when your now turns to then. It's only a matter of time before Waldo gets spotted. To me, albums like Fun Crusher Plus, despite taking 3 years to put together, sound supremely effortless and is naturally formed as a Roots LP. Those moments in the abstract independent as fuck realm of hip hop are few and far between, but Fun Crusher Plus is one of those moments, and is precisely why this is the album underground heads still turn to Illmatic style for their Hail Marys. Sure, songs like Legends and Silence are going to be a little dull because of their intentionally unenjoyable constructions, but at least they still have an artistic purpose and contribute somewhat to the album. My only complaint is definitely the length of the album. Otherwise, I say this is definitely a ridiculous album worthy of entering anyone's hip hop archive. There are absolutely amazing battle raps here, raw hip hop for days and days. Company Flow were getting it in, no doubt, and it's probably not much of a stretch to say it was music like this, particularly Loon TNS, that inspired Zev Love X to return to hip hop as MF Doom, and who doesn't want to thank Company Flow for that? I know plenty of people. And finally, I read the Zephos review from the September 28th, 2010. Raucous Records crashed through the ceiling and into hip-hop's collective conscious at a perfect time, and this was the album it rode in on. A trio consisting of producer ELP, rapper Big Joss, and DJ Mr. Len. They specialised in tripped-out, grimy underground shit that contrasted sharply and knowingly with the jiggy rap in vogue at the time. You have to know there was a lot of anger from within rap at the rise of jiggy and latter-day mafioso it came from. It can be seen from Black Star a year later, RZA's Talk on Forever, and in Kool Keith's Plastic World track. This is the atmosphere from where Company Flow and this album came up, a fed-up feeling that the only way rap could survive aesthetics intact would be to throw out the mainstream labels and go independent. Company Flow makes themselves sound like something only the underground could love too. The music is dense and strange with a heavy focus on rhyming, with few hooks to sate the teeny bopper ear. It's 75 minutes of mostly dudes talking shit as if it were a Rakim album. Its sound derives from a mix of RZA and DJ Crush influences and signaled a new era of indie rap that still survives to some extent now. It's a seminal album that, alongside the superior Jedi Mind Tricks debut, delivers classic hip-hop quality with a sheen of futuristic nightmare, acting like it were rapping from a post-apocalyptic world, and in a way that's exactly what it was. My final words here, the uploader's words, acknowledging our discontent's words, would be that Fun Crusher Plus from Company Flow is an absolutely fantastic listen. Raw, kind of futuristic, genre-heavy hip-hop. It's so much fun. Cannot recommend it enough to fans of the genre. And to those who want to hear kind of something more out there within that paradigm, I think this would be a very safe listen. Yeah, check it out. It's good stuff. Thanks again, friends.